interviewing. You know, that's what they doing. Stick around. It's about to get all roomy up in here. Remote Ruby starts now.
Chris Oliver, it is toasty here in Phoenix.
Toasty.
I'm in a weird mood today. I'm going to go ahead and get that out of the way.
Hey,
so
that makes for a good podcast.
I'm wilding today. And also, right before this call, I think all of Google GCP is like going down. So
it's their turn after Heroku went down for...
Dude.
How was that? You guys use Heroku?
We do use Heroku. We just didn't deploy. I mean, the app stayed up.
Kept running though?
Yeah.
But if you deployed, it was bad. I forget what the...
It couldn't deploy, so you couldn't even get access to the console.
Wow.
For a while.
But apps kept running?
Yeah, ours kept running.
Yours did?
Yeah, our app was online.
The app that we just acquired, the 1 month app, I think it was down for a period of time. But we didn't deploy anything, so...
Yeah.
It's not one we need to really keep running, so it wasn't a big deal, but...
Right. The concern for us became like, hey, everyone, don't merge anything because we have like automatic...
Oh.
So imagine like once everything comes back online and it tries to like slam 20 builds into the pipeline. So I was busy doing something else. Was that yesterday? I don't even remember when that was. It was yesterday or the day before.
Yeah.
I think it was yesterday. Dude, what a week.
It was like overnight.
It was the day
Tuesday
before
night?
yesterday. Okay.
Yeah. But it went on for like 12 hours or more. Something like that. And
Yeah.
people were just mad because it was like, well, Heroku hasn't even really bothered to update their status pages or anything. Like, pretty not reassuring, I'll say.
Well, couldn't they not update their status? I thought they were redirecting someone to a different status page.
Their status page, and it was like a 500 error there.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, this must be bad.
So maybe they tried to update their status page.
Yeah, they have like their Twitter account, and even that didn't get any posts for 5-6 hours or something. And then it was like, we don't know what's wrong. It's more or less what they posted. I was like, well, that's not good. So...
Wait, are Heroku builds failing again? Hold on. I think right now, live on the air, I think we're back, baby. Damn.
I see the past incidents, but on their status page, everything's all green.
Nah, you gotta check the actual dashboard.
Right. It's guaranteed to happen once a year, pretty much. AWS always goes down for the whole internet goes down once a year at least.
Yep, our builds are once again failing. Very cool. Love that for us. I feel like this has to be like an upstream issue.
Last I looked at it, it sounded like there was some third-party thing that was causing issues or something, but I don't know.
Cloudflare is having issues as well. Like half of the Google Cloud products are down.
Yeah,
but no major
makes you wonder if it's AWS related or something.
Yeah, but then why is Google Cloud down? We find out through this incident that the whole time Google Cloud is just a wrapper around Lambdas.
AWS runs on top of Google Cloud.
Yeah. That would be wild. But yeah, so things aren't great on the internet this week, but...
Time to take a break from the internet.
Yeah.
That's the sign.
Who knows?
Gotta go outside, jump in our pool one of these days.
Dude, I've been at my pool
still have the
every
pool.
day.
It hasn't gone anywhere.
Maybe it's just your lighting. You look a little sunburnt. Okay.
Now, do I look pale as I turn my lights on?
No, you still look a little red.
Probably. I've been outside a bit lately.
Got some rosy cheeks. I don't burn.
I definitely burn easily.
I don't burn at all. If I do burn, then it's almost like on purpose.
You gotta light yourself on fire once in a while.
Yeah, that's the only way I can burn. This week, I feel like I've been doing a lot of routing stuff, and I've learned a lot. And I learned about this direct thing in the routes. Didn't know about that.
Yeah, I've seen that before. I don't think I've really ever needed to use it for anything. What does that do?
Well, the problem is that my coworker Kyle introduced me to this hammer yesterday, and now I'm taking this hammer and I'm like, dude, I can fix so many things with this hammer, dude. Basically, it's a way to... Hold on, I'm going to say this right because I know how I define it, but how I define things is often very, very
Oh, this is weird. I Googled it, and Google put the AI overview not at the top, but at the fourth thing.
Don't like that.
Entry. That's weird.
Direct is a way to define custom URL helpers that will be added to the application's routes. This allows you to override and or replace the default behavior of routing helpers. So, for example, you could have direct homepage do and then give it like a URL. So, like one thing that we do this for a few things is like for our like social links. So, like you could direct /Facebook to go to your actual Facebook page. So it can direct out that, but you can then also, it can accept arguments. So you're doing comments, right? And these comments are on all these nested routes, all these different types of objects that you have. You can make a direct route to comments. So every time you want to go to a comment path, instead of having to like manually specify, oh, well, when it's this object and it's this user, go to this path. Instead of doing that every single time you're using the route, you can do that in your routes directly by passing in the model or the object and the user. And I think you can use current there as well. So if you have current user, and you can also pass in params and things. So a return value from the block passed to direct must be a valid set of arguments for URL4, which will actually build the URL string. So this can be a string, a hash, an array, which is passed to polymorphic URL, active model instance, or active model class. And so one thing I was doing this for was like, let's imagine like you have multiple types of posts on your platform, right? And instead of wanting to have to be like, oh, blog posts and a direct posts or Reddit posts or discussion posts, this or that, you could define just post path and then pass it like the object, and then that object used in like a case statement or conditional to be like, okay, when the object is blog post, this is the route.
So these are almost defining your own URL helpers rather than like, it's not as much of a route itself as is a helper to generate a route for you. Does that make sense?
I think, I think that makes sense.
The example of being able to pass in a user or something or some object, and then it's like, oh, here, let me generate the correct route for you based on that. That makes a lot of sense. Like it's almost kind of similar to the polymorphic routes or whatever that doesn't care what object type you pass in.
The polymorphic routes doesn't always work for us because of decisions that have been made in the past. So I put an example specifically for you in the...
Right. It does make sense then. It's kind of like, define a helper that takes these objects and then do some logic to figure out what it should do. And instead of putting this in your like view helpers, since this works like the helpers that are already generated for your routes, this isn't about incoming requests and sending them to the right controller, which is what I thought they were. This is actually for generating those helpers in your views or your controllers or whatever. That makes a lot more sense. Okay. Yeah, this one is really hard to describe that when you read it and try to learn that for the first time, because it's in the routes and yet it's not going to be the thing that, I mean, those methods are automatically generated, but it's not going to be used for processing a request. That's the thing that I got backwards or whatever.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And you can do it for a lot of different things. I put another just private example for you in the comment, but
yeah,
you can do a lot with it. The examples do a good job of showing you like what it can do, but the examples are so basic that you kind of have to see a more advanced example to kind of really grok like the power of it.
Right. Well, that's cool. I need to make a screencast on that then, now that I understand this better.
You should, because it's pretty powerful.
I've just simply went and made my own view helper and did that. But like, you can't use that in a controller unless you include that module in your controller and stuff.
And the same thing with components and other places like...
Yeah. So this is a way to define those so that it's available wherever URL helpers are. That makes sense. Okay, cool. That is actually incredibly handy and really nice. It's funny how like I've had my workarounds with my understanding of Rails for X number of years and never actually considered that, oh, maybe Rails has a feature to make that even easier. That's funny. I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Today I
It's pretty
learned.
cool.
Well, I'm glad we recorded the podcast today because now I have a new weapon in my arsenal.
Hi, I'm Adam from Judo Scale, and like most of you, I'm never going to be as smart, funny, and good-looking as Andrew and Chris. But hey, at least they let me sponsor their podcast. I'll make it quick. Judo Scale is an autoscaler for Heroku, Render, Fly, and AWS. We're a better autoscaler because we track more effective metrics, analyze them more frequently, and give you the controls you need to dial in predictable and reliable scaling. Traffic spikes, request timeouts, backed up job queues, JudoScale has you covered. Head to judoscale.com/remote-ruby to learn more.
The way Podia is set up, it's multi-tenant, it's multi-domained.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
facing stuff.
Yeah, public, internal, like you have the app facing, the customer facing, like we have all sorts of stuff. And we have a lot of different types of objects. And if you had shown this to me like a few months ago, I would have completely done one of my projects very differently. Like we ran into a lot of pain because I didn't know how to do this. And like it was one of those things where like it was in several different domains and like we needed to make it work everywhere. And we ended up just passing paths around everywhere. And it was like, wow, we didn't need to do that. We could have just used a direct route, passed it the object, and that object could have then told it what the correct route was.
That is super awesome. I like this a lot. Dang. Well, this is going to come in handy for sure then. Well, I'm going to have to make a screencast on it too, because that is a confusing thing to wrap your head around, because when I was reading about it every single time, I was like, what does this even do? Why do I use this? And it's hard to give a good example of that. When you see it and it clicks, then you're like, yes, this makes total sense. But yeah, easy concept at that point. But it's funny. It's like recursion or whatever. Like you just sit there for a long time and you're like, what the hell is this? Why do we need this? Whatever. And you really can't grasp it until you have like a good example. And then you start to realize, oh yeah, like there is no other solution for this or whatever. Not a good one, at least. And this really fits that well. It was fascinating how many things in programming are like that. Design patterns and other things are similar, you know?
Yeah. And all it takes is that one person who is more proficient with that one part of whatever tool you're using to like unlock this whole. I feel like a light bulb just turned on. I was like, wait.
Yeah, totally. That's cool. I like it. What else is new? I'm trying to think if I've done anything interesting this week. Don't believe so. I had one of those days where Colin's been visiting since Saturday. He leaves tomorrow. But some of those days where you're like, we went to a coffee shop and being in a different space and working for a little bit, tackled a couple issues that have been like minor warts for a long time. And I shipped like 4 of them in half an hour. And I was like, if they were going to be that easy, why didn't I do these months ago? But just happened to be in a different location, different headspace and whatever. And I was like, that sounds like fun. I'll try that. And then I did one. And then I was like, oh, also that other thing. And I ended up doing that in such a short amount of time. And he and I both were like, we should probably deliberately go to the coffee shop once or twice a week when we work from home and try to just have a little different location. And I won't have interruptions, like the dog might start barking or whatever. And like, got to take her out potty and stuff. Those little things will be just not in the back of my mind of like, what time is it? Have I taken her out recently? And whatever.
Yeah.
Tend to make a big difference on me sometimes.
I was reading something recently, and I can't remember if it was like actually scientific or just someone talking about going to a different space can like help with your productivity. And I have tried that in the past, but it's just not the same with me, dude. That happened to me a lot in college. I'll go to the library. Okay, well, I'm the type of person who has like a long setup time. So I can't just go to the library and just sit down and start working. I have to go and maybe get a coffee. Like, oh, they have a coffee shop. Better get a coffee. And I got to find the right seat. It's got to be the right place. And like, oh crap, I should go run to the bathroom first. And then I'm people watching the whole time and there's distractions and I don't know.
Yeah, it can definitely be unproductive too. One of the days, I don't think I did anything. Also, I'm used to having like my big monitor or 2 or 3 at home, and then I'm stuck on my laptop and it just is never the same. I like being able to see the browser, the editor, the terminal, whatever else it is all at once. But then when I get to my laptop, I got to be switching through those all the time. And like, it's just not as productive or whatever. So there's some things where I just can't do it. But if I'm like writing an email or something like that, it might be perfect because it does force me to focus on that. And I don't have Discord open on the side and I can see people talking. Then it can be beneficial to be on my laptop or whatever.
Yeah. One of my mentors, he always had this thing. He's like, I only use my laptop. And his whole reasoning was like, because I travel and like, I can't afford to not be productive when I only have my laptop. And I can actually be quite productive on my laptop. For some reason, like weirdly, I'm a better typer on my laptop than I am on the keyboard that I use every day for years. I don't know why, but my H key sticks and I use them. So right there, we have a big problem, right? It's either H or J, one of those sticks.
That's real bad. Real bad for Vim.
Yeah, so it's a little difficult for that.
I used to use my MacBook and I'm trying to think what I had at home. Maybe I just docked my laptop then. I don't remember. For home, I bought the same Apple keyboard that was the 10 keyless version. So it matched exactly the layout of my MacBook. So that when I came home, it would be the exact same keyboard experience, even if I was on my other computer or whatever it was. And that was like a thing I ended up doing because I would take my laptop into the office every day. So when I came home, if I had to switch to a mechanical keyboard or something with a different layout, it would just slow me down. It's funny how some of that stuff works. Yeah. Now it's like I got a mechanical keyboard and the MacBook keyboard, and it's close enough that I'm used to it enough that it doesn't bother me. But those little differences can really mess with you.
Yeah. I mean, I use a split keyboard too. So, and it like multi-layered and everything. So I'll be like, oh, wait, I don't have a hyper key here. Oh, I need to go like change something to set that up now. It's like, I just end up not doing a lot of those kind of shortcutty things when I'm on my just pure laptop because it's more so like just swiping screens back and forth.
Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to think.
Some performance updates or improvements came for the latest Ruby I was reading.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I had the article
open. Was that a Tenderlove post?
No. I had it open and I was like, I should keep this open so I can talk about it on the podcast. And I did not do that because I was not at my computer and I was at my phone, which is where I'm always unproductive and I always forget that. But yes, I saw that there were some hidden kind of performance updates. I also learned about typed objects. I think that's what it was called in Ruby. Hold on.
Yes. Yeah, there is object shapes.
Yes, that sounds right.
Yeah, that was some internal representation thing of Ruby objects or whatever. I don't remember. There's an old thing here from Gemma on Ruby issues.
Ruby 3.3 introduces embedded typed data objects.
That's right.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you very much. All right. So one of the latest improvements in Ruby 3.3 is embedded typed data objects, a low-level optimization. In C Ruby, every object has a defined type. For objects backed by native C data, such as time mutex or enumerator, Ruby uses typed data objects. These allow Ruby to interface directly with native memory, which is especially useful with C extensions. And in Ruby 3.3, the Ruby core team introduced embedded type data objects, a feature that co-locates the native data directly after the Ruby object in memory. This allows for single allocation instead of two, faster access due to better memory locality, smaller memory footprint, and improved garbage collection performance. And to enable embedding, a type data type must be marked with the Ruby typed embeddable flag. However, this optimization is only safe when the data is non-shared. So real-world speedups. Optimization isn't just several Ruby operations now run significantly faster. Time.now, 80% faster. Object2enum, 68% faster. Object.method, 50% faster.
Wow.
So they're planning to make embedded type data accessible to third-party native extensions, which opens the door to further performance gains, especially for C extensions.
Dang.
And there's also a article at Rails at Scale from Peter about it. I'll put a link to the article I was basically reading off and a link to that in the show notes.
Honeybadger helps you deploy with confidence and be your team's DevOps hero by combining error, uptime, and performance monitoring in one simple platform. It's free to get started, and setup just takes a few minutes. Be the hero your team needs. Suit up at honeybadger.io. That's www.honeybadger.io. Man, this stuff is awesome. There's so much that I don't know because I don't get into the weeds of how Ruby is implemented, but I'm glad that there are plenty of people working on this stuff, so we get that benefit. That's some pretty significant stuff for
80%
things like
improvement at time.now is pretty wild.
Right. And I don't know if the active support time.current or whatever benefits from that. I would assume so. But yeah, really cool. And a lot of these things are like low-level stuff to enum or object method that you might use for debugging, but you're probably not doing yourself too much. But yet there may be things that you use that actually use those behind the scenes that'll get benefits from that without you having to even change any of your code, which is cool. I hadn't really used toenum much at all, but then I did that screencast on GoRails the other day about using enumerable, and the correct way to like implement that is you want to, or no, it's not toenum, it's enum 4, if I remember right. And you want to implement that so that if you use enumerable, each is supposed to return, if it doesn't get a block, it needs to return a numerable object or whatever. And so that's how you can implement that. Because most of the examples that I found for using enumerable were just implementing each and going through each of the items, but not even talking about at all about the non-block call of each or whatever. So this is nice, cool stuff to learn. That I love having enumerable. Like the example I was using there was pretty much you're building an API client for something. It's got pagination. You can have that automatically paginate for you because you can grab a page results, yield each of those or whatever. And then when it's time for the next one, you can grab the next page and yield those. And it can be like an invisible pagination thing using whole enumerable. So yeah, it's cool.
I also learned that in Ruby 3.3, you now have access to Prism. So you can run prism.parse and pass it like a string of Ruby code.
Oh, that's cool.
And it will actually like show you the data that Prism has like info on.
That's neat. Yeah, I haven't used that either. It's something that would be fun to work on. I think that could be something I could use like on Rails bytes, because you submit a snippet of Ruby code and we would like to validate that it's correct syntax and stuff. We don't need to run it and actually run a test or something for it, but like we just do want to validate that you submitted valid Ruby code, and it might be able to do something with that. I think we did that already in some way, but it was like
with
a totally
WASM?
different.
I was going to say, if you gave me that project, I would probably think about WASM first.
Yeah, that could be handy there too. Maybe I can find it in our code. We had something around that. I forget. Valid syntax. Ruby VM instruction sequence compile script. and it would raise a script error if it's not valid Ruby syntax. So we don't really need to parse it out. We just need Ruby to basically do that compilation. I don't remember when I wrote that. It's been a while. So I should go back and read up on the Ruby VM compile method there because I don't remember what it all does. Takes source, a string of Ruby code, compiles it to an instruction sequence. Optionally takes file path and line, which describe the file path, real path in the first line, number of the Ruby code in source, which are metadata. I mean, this got the job done and was simple enough, but
Is that not dangerous?
it's just compiling an instruction sequence. So it's not
Okay.
executing anything.
Okay.
Instruction sequence represents a compiled sequence of instructions for the VM used in MRI. Not all implementations of Ruby may implement this class, and for the implementations that implement it, methods defined and behavior of the methods can change in any version. So, yeah, this was just something that I had found on the internet, Stack Overflow or something. Somebody else had needed something similar, and so this is what I ended up finding that worked pretty well or whatever. But yeah, could be something that we could replace or whatever, use Prism. Maybe that would be faster or something because we don't actually care about the compiled version of this. We just want to make sure the syntax is valid. So maybe it's doing more work and we could have it run a bit faster without having to do extra stuff.
Yeah.
Which is probably what it's doing if it's doing a full compilation there. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what all you can do with it. But when I was looking at an example of it, I was like, oh, I feel like during Drew's game shows, he always breaks down like why Ruby did something, why it did something a certain way. And like, it wouldn't be great exactly for him just because a lot of his require older Ruby versions, but that would have been a great way to like break down exactly why Ruby did something it did.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look at Prism. Yeah, it looks like there's prism.parse. Takes code, parses it. Ooh, interesting. There's also Prism parse failure ? So that might be...
There is an errors array in the prism.parse.
Okay. Or there's parse success. I might be able to just simply say, parse this and see if it was successful. And that's a cleaner, better way of doing things. Because, yeah, we're clearly doing more stuff than necessary there.
I'm trying to see what happens when you give it like an invalid method. I'm just curious what it does.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Interesting.
It does. All right. So I gave it an inline method, but I misspelled end.
Mm-hmm.
So the errors are unexpected token close of context, unexpected end of input, assuming it is closing the parent top, blah, 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 because I don't have an end. And then the second one is expected an end to close the def statement. So it's got two errors. So yeah, I'm guessing you could do that.
That's cool because I could also take those errors and add them to like active record base.
Yeah.
The errors and just raise them up to the active model errors level. And then I could tell you rather than just saying, yeah, it's valid or no, it's not valid. I could actually tell you exactly, what was wrong and even line numbers or whatever.
Yeah, it has the type of error, the message, and the location.
That's cool. That would be a nice improvement. I'll have to do that because effectively all I have with the current implementation is it's going to raise the script error, but it's a yes or no. And we just tell you, hey, your stuff's wrong. We don't know where or why or anything like that to give you a tip, which means you probably have to go paste it into your editor and try and run it yourself and whatever. But this would be a much cleaner, more useful way of doing that. So there we go.
You should benchmark. I would be really curious to like see how much faster.
Yeah, I'll have to maybe grab our longest script or something from the site and see. Obviously, it doesn't get a ton of use, so it's not going to matter performance-wise, but I will be curious because I would assume that just simply parsing this, that's what the instruction sequence creation has to do, plus all of the other stuff to create the instruction sequence and compile it or whatever. So this should be I would assume, much faster, but Yeah, I'll be real curious. Do some benchmarks on it.
Sweet.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good suggestion. I had forgot about that. And there's not a lot of time where I'm like parsing Ruby code or anything. So it's not usually top of mind, but this will be great. I always like these little opportunities, a tiny little project like that where you can like expand your knowledge a little bit, but you're not going down the rabbit hole. You could.
You could.
But it's got a nice kind of, I could do this in 15 minutes, try it out, see what happens, and improve some things and add to my knowledge of Ruby or whatever. I like it.
Yeah. Should be fun.
Cool. Yeah. You've been teaching me direct routes, making sure that I actually take advantage of Prism. You got me homework to do now.
I got stuff going on this week. Nothing was going on last week. I got stuff going on this week.
It's been an interesting week because we've had Colin come up from Louisiana, hang out for about a week, and we're just looking at projects and figuring out what we want to invest our next few months into and stuff like that, and see where we're going, what we want to learn, what we want to do. And it's nice that we, being a small team, get to think about that stuff and decide our direction together and all that, where it's not just kind of being given stuff to do every periodic time when your projects are over.
I went to your house like a few years ago, and I remember coming home because Colin had told me that he was about to go visit you for the first time. And I remember being like, bro, bring a sweatshirt. So all I'm curious to know is that boy wearing a sweatshirt right now? It's gonna be chilly, dude.
I don't think so. I mean, it's been perfect weather here, like 70s, 80s, 85.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
It's not humid yet. The pool heater is broken, though, so we haven't. It's probably getting up to temperature, but we've had so much rain, and it's been kind of cool. In the evenings, it'll be in the 60s or less until more recently, and it's been raining so much, so we really do need the pool heater, but every freaking year there's some lightning and it just breaks something somewhere. And so apparently there's a couple things in the pool need fixing. So we're getting there, but yeah, it's nice to have that pool heater because it gets us normally it gets us an extra month at the beginning of the season and the end of the season. And it's surprisingly how short the pool season here is in the Midwest.
I'm still going to the pool at like December. Like we have a pool heater too, but if it's still nice outside, then it'd still be like in the 80s in December. So
yeah, we get around, I don't know, sometimes the wind chill's -10 or whatever. So we have to close that pool down. Not fun.
Yeah, that's
no way
must.
You're going to go broke trying to heat a pool.
Yeah.
It's that cold.
I did get all my stuff for RailsConf situated.
Yay.
I know it's way closer, but got all that done. So
yeah, I just saw the email update about RailsConf a bit ago, and it's 4 weeks to go, 25 days till RailsConf 2025. The Sheraton's like fully sold out, so they got another hotel.
I know.
For people, which is a good sign. Doing well. It's going to be a really fun last hurrah for RailsConf. Bit sad, but we'll have RubyConf next year.
I'm not sad, dude. I'm looking forward to that freaking cheesesteak.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited about that cheesesteak.
Yeah. Multiple cheesesteaks. And you can't just have one.
No. One with every type of meat.
There you go.
Yeah.
You might convince me to try that Wagyu one.
What do you mean might convince? You know for a fact you're going to get it, bro. You go walk in there and look at it and be like,
The regular one was still so good.
No, but the Wagyu was the best. Dude, is the best thing I've... Oh, my God. Don't get me started, dog. I'm go get some more food now.
Next time you're in town, we might have to take you. We just went to this place called Joya's Deli. They are famous for this hot salami, which is like temperature hot, not spicy hot. They also have a sandwich called the pork NATO, which, as you can tell,
lots of pork.
Good. We're is the year? They've been around since like 1942 or something. It's green text on a green picture.
Love that.
Some designer and
Shout out to all the bros who can't see green.
Man, why would they do that? That's funny. Oh, since 1918. It's also like the tiniest text where I have to actually move my head closer to the monitor to read it. Yeah, 1918. So that's over 100 years old.
Damn.
Making hot salami sandwiches. And then they put it on garlic cheese bread.
Ooh.
It
having
it
a
slaps.
cheese.
But you better be ready for a nap afterwards.
Oh, it gives you the itis. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, a little bit.
Y'all took me to like some small Italian place, I think, and it was really good.
Yeah, I can't remember. We usually
Near the
go
airport.
down near the airport. Let's see.
Near the airport.
Yeah. I can't remember which one it was. The Hill is the Italian district, basically. We just went down there, hung out with the brand new box crew last week. They took us out to dinner at RailsConf one year, and then they were having a team retreat in St. Louis. They're out in Kansas City, all amazing people. And they were in St. Louis, invited us out to dinner, and we went to another Italian place we had not been to. And man, they're all so good.
Yeah, dude. It's super good.
We got a surprisingly good food scene in St. Louis. I think eventually I need to get a little 100-person Ruby conference here going.
Dude, you remember what happened to Jason, right?
I know. But it'd be fun to share your city with everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
At least it's better than trying to do it in Vegas. Doing a conference, or even Jason doing conferences in Nashville, like, do it where you live so you don't have to drive to another or fly to another city and try and do that. I think that's on hard mode, and I'm not willing to go that far. But yeah.
You just need to find like a huge Airbnb.
There we go. 100-person Airbnb.
Yeah. Or like two of them like side by side. There you go.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of an unconference?
Yes. That's kind of what I was basically thinking of.
That's what you reminded me of, because I think that could be cool too. Where like we just rent an Airbnb and we all hang out and don't really have talks or a schedule or like a place we need to rent and put up a projector and all that.
Right.
Like, I think getting 10 to 20 people together and just hanging out, and just if someone wants to get up and talk for a bit, let them do it. But like just mainly make it around conversation and stuff. And that being my favorite part of the conferences anyways, the hallway track. It's basically the hallway track is a thing. So yeah, that might be good. So
it could be
one
fun.
of these days. I don't want to do it. We got a baby on the way. I don't want to do it anytime soon.
Well, dude, then you're going to have 2 young children. I don't think you're going to be wanting to do it afterwards either.
Yeah.
Jackson's going to be getting into that stage of life where he becomes a problem. You know, how old is he now?
I mean, he's 2.5.
Oh, he's about there, dude.
On his way to 3, but
he's about to be wrecking yo stuff.
We've been lucky with him. He's been pretty good. Lately, he's been making me or mom or grandma sit in the rocking chair next to his crib when he goes to bed. And then Brooke was like, maybe I can just talk to him through the camera. So, hey, you got to go to bed. I got to go to bed too, buddy. And then he's like, but I want you to sit here. And then Brooke will pop on the camera and start talking to him, and he'll talk back, trying to use every excuse he can to get you to come up there. And he's been doing pretty good. It took one bad night with that took like 45 minutes. And then the next one was like 5 minutes. And then last night was nothing. I don't think Brooke even got on the camera at all. So making good progress. But
yeah, get used to the idea.
You seem to be trying to jinx it.
No, I'm not trying to jinx it. As someone who is, I don't want to use the label child free because that makes it seem like I'm standing on something, which I'm not. But as someone who has no children and has friends with children, it's just like, I've never been more exhausted in my life than that day I hung out with Jason's kids, dude. Like,
yeah, they are quite a handful.
So many things about Jason made more sense. I'm like, dude, how do you even have a job right now? Like, I wouldn't even be able to function as a human being. It's not like they're bad or anything. It's like, that's not it. It's just like, you've got 3 young kids. Like, they've got energy and they've got the stuff that's going on, you know?
Yes, indeed.
And then once you get to the sports age, you're like, oh, Lord.
Yeah, we got a little bit of that going on with the Saturday morning swim class, but that's not so bad. It's only about a half an hour of swim class. But when you get into, we got traveling baseball games and other whatever like that. Oh, gosh.
And if they don't play the same sports.
Yeah, we got to go to volleyball and we got to go to basketball and then baseball and whatever. Even like a little school he goes to right now, it's tomorrow we got a Father's Day thing in the afternoon. But if you go to that, it's like at 3. So then you got to be there at 2:30 because there's way more vehicles there than there's parking. And you got to get there early, but then you got to leave early. And now it's like, well, my whole afternoon is shot. I can't work. And
it's all not.
It's going to be busy. I understand why Jason needed a break from the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. So good luck on that conference idea, bro. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Somebody can swoop in and help out with that, and then we can make it possible. But I don't think I'm going to have time to do that.
You're going to have a 4 or 5-year-old and a 1-year-old at the same time. Oh my God.
It's going to be fun.
I'm sure it will be. It'll be fun for you to watch.
Yeah, right.
You can like a zombie.
You can feed them sugar when you come visit. Just watch the aftermath where we're both staring you down.
It's like Uncle Andrew's going to show you how.
Who gave you this donut?
Sugar, soda, Red Bull. Dude, we got to get on the Red Bull Young, you know, and fire. That's what Uncle Andrew brings to the table.
We just need to teach him to code early. That's what we need.
I guess so. Teach him about fireworks.
He's gonna start prompt engineering.
Yeah. Dude, why is your kid vibe coding already? Like, if he can talk to a baby monitor, he can talk to an LLM.
Oh man, one of the days we were driving home from school, I'll have to send you this video. Jackson was in a no mood, and you could ask him any question, and he'd just say no. And I have it on video. I was like, "Hey, you want to vibe code with me?" And he goes, "No." And I was like, "Do you want to vibe code with me?" And he goes, "No." I was like, "This is so funny."
That's amazing. That's me, by the way, in IRL.
I love it. Well, right. I'm going to go hang out with Colin a bit more, grab a beer, enjoy the last night hanging out in person before he goes back home. And, well, I guess I'll see him in a month at RailsConf. See you in a month at RailsConf.
Yep. Bro,
sweet.
You got to get your kids on the skateboard. Y'all have like the perfect driveway / like road for skate.
That's true.
Bro.
Yeah, Colin was sending me links on decks and trucks and wheels and bearings and grip tape and all that. And I was like, this will be so great because you know what I'm going to do? My parents, who gave me the Walmart skateboard that didn't actually roll, which is way more dangerous, I'm going to actually put him a nice skateboard together. And he was saying too, you know, let him just lay down on it or sit on it. Get used to balancing a little bit. You don't have to stand on it from the beginning.
Learning how to balance on a skateboard is a very like you have to learn how to balance in so many sports, like snowboarding and surfing and hockey. And like, there's so many sports that like rely on balance. So like you get it quickly.
Yeah. Bicycle, all that.
Yeah. Do you know what a ripstick is?
Oh yeah. It's like the split thing.
It's like a skateboard, but it's got one wheel on the front and the back, and it has like an axle in the middle, and you twist your like feet back and forth to get it to move. I used to tear my knees apart on that thing as a kid, like going down hills. When I was visiting Drew before our retreat, we went to a Goodwill so I could get some clothes for paintball, and I found a ripstick for $3. And dude, I was like, oh yeah, I'm buying that. And I did not fall yet, but I had to leave it at Drew's house because I was like, I'm going to come back for RailsConf with a bigger bag and disassemble this and take it home.
Yeah. Dude, I should go to Goodwill. Finding the old toys and things like that just get donated. That's perfect.
I have a really big Goodwill right outside my house.
What I will promise not to do is get Jackson a boosted board where he like can go 25, 30 miles an
Oh.
hour on an electric skateboard.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Anything with a motor.
Yeah. We'll leave those for when he's older.
Yeah. You guys have dirt bike area though. Shoot.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
Dude,
I don't know about that.
that would
No.
be sick. If you have a dirt bike, you're automatically the cool kid. So I'm
Right.
just saying, if you want to make him the cool kid, you've already got the pool, the dope house, like the dirt bikes, dude.
This is going to be Viva La Oliver,
Yeah, sure.
Viva La Jackson.
Just got to send it, boys.
If we can ink a deal with MTV, then there we go.
Dude, you could set up, when your parents' house is in there, you could set up like ramps, like set up a whole track from your house to their house, dude. Oh my God. I'm imagining it right now.
Oh, God.
Next time I come down to St. Louis, you're gonna be like, "Where's Andrew?" You're just gonna hear like a dirt bike revving in your like front yard. Like, oh, he's here.
Then a big splash in the pool.
Yeah, dude. Oh, no, that's a terrible. You just, oh my God, like you could ramp up to your freaking roof, dude, and just, dude, terrible idea. Buffoonery that could go on.
We'll reach out to MTV.
Sounds good to me. All right. Well, have a good week, my friend.
You too.